Hey guys, BuildZoid here, and today we're back on the Crucial Ballistix DDR4 5100 memory kit um, on the B550 Unify X with the 4750G. And so Crucial, like this kit comes with this lovely bit of paper, let's just call it that. And what it says is, we're sending you this exclusive kit to see what you can make these modules do. Well, um, I hope you're proud of me, Crucial. Because, this is memtest, right? It's memtest. Admittedly, just 200%, so this is not what I would consider fully stable, but doing 200% memtest is like, that's kind of something, you know? It's like 100% kind of easy, 200% is like, okay, that's like halfway to, you know, being considered a full memtest pass. 400% is what you should do for actual day-to-day stability. The reason I'm not running this out to 400% is because I'm very impatient and I also have way too many like videos to work on, so I want to get this one kind of over with. And then, of course, memtest in and of itself is not the end-all be-all of memory stress testing. You should also run other stress tests that, you know, hit the CPU and the memory controller as well as the RAM at the same time. So things like, LinPack, I believe OCCT is pretty good for this. I've not tested it myself, but I've heard from other people that that's a pretty good option. Certain configurations of Prime 95 can hit the memory really hard as well. But when it just comes to checking the capability of the memory sticks themselves and not the, you know, stability of the memory controller and the CPU side of the operation, memtest is a really good way of doing things. So as you can see, we are at over 200% on every single one of these memtest instances, and this is, I believe, 18 instances, 700 megabytes each. We should be running about 12.6 gigs of RAM, which unfortunately does mean that we can't open up Task Manager, because I don't think there's enough memory available. Come on. Come on, Windows, give me Task Manager. Okay. Oh, there we go. Oh, now it's going to open like a bajillion Task Manager windows. Because I was just... Oh, no. Okay. Anyway, let's go to the Performance tab. Yeah, you can see the thing is this is a 4750G, so it's an APU, and some of the memory is reserved for the built-in iGPU of the APU. And anyway, yeah, so this is running. And now for the grand reveal. This is... I should really close one of these instances. I'm just going to kill that one. Because otherwise, this is just not... if you don't have any RAM left over, then the system just slows down to a crawl. Anyway, so here we are. And yeah, that's just a cool DDR4 5500 right there. You know, doing memtest as you do at DDR4 5500. So yeah, you could say like this memory kit's absolutely just insane. Now, so yeah, like there, the DDR, like Crucial's DDR4 5100 kit does, you know, 5500. If you give it a little, like if you just fiddle with it a little bit. And actually, I'm not actually running like full auto subtiming, so this isn't as slow as it could be if I just let the motherboard do its thing as far as stability is concerned. It is not fast. Like, let's get that out of the way. This is more about like getting the frequency and, you know, having it be stable. So it's definitely not like the fastest memory configuration I've showed, like fastest in terms of real world performance memory configuration that I've ever run memtest on. But as far as just raw clock speed goes, yeah, I don't normally do memtest above 4400. I think like the highest memtest pass I've done is like 4533 CL18. Yeah, this is 5500 CL20. So this is like this is just absolutely insane that this works right? Like, the fact that this even runs is impressive. Um, so yeah, these crucial DDR5100 memory sticks are, like, absolutely insane. Um, when it comes to running really, really high frequencies. Now, the trick, like, a lot of why these sticks can clock so high is that, one, there's, the binning that goes into them. This isn't just these aren't just any Micron memory chips. I don't know how many they sorted, but they are only making 100 of these kits. So I'm going to assume that the percentage of memory chips that do this spec is very, very low. And then the other thing is this isn't regular Micron Rev B. So these sticks use Micron 16 gigabit Revision B memory chips. But the thing is, they're not 16 gigabit sticks. Like, as you can see, I only have 16 gigabytes of RAM installed. And there are 8 memory chips on each of these sticks. So you would think, like, where did, half the capacity go? Because 16 gigabit chips, 8 of them on a stick, you should be getting a 16 gigabyte stick. We only have 8 gig sticks. So what's actually going on with that is that Micron, they disable half of the memory to get even better overclocking capabilities out of it. So yeah, and that leads to, it being possible to do things like run memtest at DDR4 5500. And when I say the performance isn't absolutely spectacular, like 8300 in Geekbench 3, that's not bad. It's not great. Like, when it comes to Geekbench memory scores, it's like, for competitive overclocking, the gold standard is to get like approaching 10,000 or over 10,000. And then for daily, 8500 is doable. But like, again, this is just like, oh my god, we can run DDR4 5500 in memtest. So yeah, there's no point. Actually, you know what? Let's run IDA, but IDA's not going to tell us anything new. The latency especially is not great because I'm also not running the FCLK maxed out because I wasn't sure. Like, I didn't really. Again, I wanted to get this kind of over with, so I wasn't really interested in trying to figure out how to get the Infinity Fabric fully stable at this kind of speed. So yeah, the latency isn't as low as it could be. Also, we are running pretty loose timings in order to just get this stable. They're not as bad as just auto timings, but they're not spectacular. At lower frequencies, you could actually achieve lower latencies than this. Though I'm kind of wondering about the read speed. I was kind of hoping to break 80 gigs. But I guess since I'm actually going for stability, 77 gigs will have to do. Like, that is really, really fast. Like, that's still absolutely just insane amounts of memory bandwidth, right? Like, for comparison, here's like DDR4 2666 on a 1800. We have something more relevant, 2933 on a 2700X. So that's like the highest memory speed a 2700X supports. That gets you 45 gigabytes per second, and we're doing 77. So we're, like, yeah, this is almost double the bandwidth of, like, normally supported memory speeds. Anyway, let's restart and talk a little bit about what's necessary to get this to actually pass memtest. So, at the start of the video, you probably noticed I do have a fan on the memory sticks. It is necessary. When I first started messing with this, I got all the way to like 60% memtest before I got an error. But after that, the errors started actually getting more and more frequent. Like, at lower and lower percentages, I'd be getting the errors until I put the fan back on. So, yeah, the sticks at this, the sticks are just generally temperature sensitive, but when you're, like, the temperature sensitivity of basically all memory sticks gets worse and worse. Well, okay, that's not entirely true. There's some memory sticks that don't really care that much. But with a lot of sticks, like, if you have sticks that care about temperature, they care more and more the higher the frequency you're running at. So, at DDR 5500, DDR4 5500, yeah, the fan is no longer, like, it's not even remotely optional. We have to have the fan, otherwise it just errors. For the memory voltage, we're at 1.55 volts. Just to help it, like, because this kit is XM, like, the stock voltage for this kit is 1.5 volts. 1.55 is, like, you could daily this at 1.55 volts. It's not a problem. It's not going to break a memory controller. It's not going to break the sticks. It's just you're also going to need the fan on it because the extra voltage does make the sticks run a bit warmer. So, it's kind of like if you like this is still ultimately pretty impractical, but it's like if you really wanted to, you could. And just the fact that you could instead of because there are some kits where it's just like no, you can't. Where it's just like no, even if you bend over backwards, this is just never gonna work. This like yeah, if you have it, if you have a fan, you're not in a high ambient temperature. So if your room is at like around 20 degrees, um, and you have a crazy motherboard with a 4750G, or a 4650G, or one of these Ryzen Zen 2 APUs. Because the thing is, these chips have like the best memory controller you can currently buy. Yeah, so you just need one of these Zen 2 APUs, an absolutely beastly motherboard like the B550 Unify X, and yeah, you could totally daily 5500. You could play games on this. Totally. Not that it's practical to do that, but the fact that you can, in my opinion, is just incredibly cool. Because yeah, this is the territory of like frequency validation speeds, not like oh I can daily this. It's like this is the kind of speed that on most other memory sticks you'd be expecting like trying to take a screenshot and that would be difficult. And here it's like yeah we can mem test at 5500. Um, Anyway, SoC voltage at 1.15. I did actually mess with slightly higher SoC voltages, but that seems to upset the memory controller. So ended up at 1.5, 1.15. The APUs do seem to have a sweet spot for the SoC voltage, at least if you're going for memory stability. I'm not like the iGPU scales with voltage, I know that, but this was also a problem on like the older AMD APUs where it's like the iGPU just scales with voltage all the way up to like over 1.3 volts. But the SoC portion of the chip doesn't. Like optimal SoC voltage on most Ryzen chips is somewhere between 1.1 and 1.2 volts in terms of memory stability. And yeah, like it's fine here because we don't actually care about the iGPU, right? I'm using a second GPU for display output, but yeah, it's just kind of like one of those things where, yeah, raising the SoC voltage actually makes things worse. Because I had it all the way up at like 1.2, and it was actually like that was when I was getting the errors the soonest. I was getting like errors at like 5 or 10%. Um, anyway, so that's sort of the voltage configuration for the VRM settings. We just have mode 4 for the CPU V-droop. I didn't check that the CPU is fully stable. At 4.35, it should be like this is a 4750G late 7 nanometer production, so this should actually be stable at 1.35 volts. But anyway, mode 4, so quite a bit of V-droop, 400 millivolts, maxed out over voltage protection, maxed out current protection, switching frequency maxed out because this VRM is mega overkill for actually any CPU you could put in this motherboard. CPU over temperature. This is on auto just because I don't know why you would ever raise your VRM over temperature. That's like one thing I don't get is like why would you want to remove the one thing, protecting the VRM from very bad decisions. Anyway, load line calibration is for the SoC is at mode 3, so a little bit less droop, but that's because the SoC pulls less current, so we don't need as much V-droop on that. For stability, overcurrent protection maxed out, switching frequency maxed out again, and the VR 12-volt OCP expander also maxed out. Anyway, note that I think like any of this is particularly necessary. It's just like these are the settings I run with this board because they work just fine. FCLK is 2000. The APUs do really high FCLK, but like 2000 is actually kind of low for an APU. I didn't really want to fight the Infinity Fabric for stability when, trying to stabilize DDR4 5500. Because the memory side of it, it was actually kind of hard. Because I had some passes, like I had a pass that was 60%. I had a pass that errored at like just around 200%. I think it was like 195% when it errored. So yeah, I didn't really want to also fight the Infinity Fabric into working properly. Anyway, here's the timings. So TCL's at 20. I'm not 100% certain that that's necessary, but I didn't really feel like figuring out if 18 works. It might. TRCDRD 28. This also might not be entirely necessary, but I was having more because the thing is I was changing multiple settings at the same time. It's also worth noting that going from 26 to 28 doesn't make that much of a difference. Now you might be like, why isn't it at 27? For whatever reason, this this BIOS or this CPU's memory controller seems to absolutely hate odd TRCD. Like, the one time I had this at 27, like, it actually blue screened. It wasn't just like memtest errors, it just straight up blue screened when I started running the memory test. So yeah, even timings only, because the memory controller hates odd timings for some reason. And that's regardless of gear down mode on or off, as far as I can tell. So yeah, that's like super strange, but yeah, and I'm also not sure that it doesn't, like, it probably, I'm not sure if it only happens at these higher frequencies, but it might. I've not checked if there's like a frequency error, like a lower frequency where that stops being an issue. TRAS 50, just because like these sticks actually can't run super low TRAS. There's a lot of memory sticks where you can just basically drop the TRAS as low as it can go. Micron memory sticks are not some of those memory sticks in my experience. Anyway, TRC 100, this isn't as low as it could be, but on auto it would go to 128. And TRC is a very important timing for performance. So this is actually like a nice little performance bump compared to the default setting. This is on auto because it just defaults to 0 anyway, so we don't need to change that. TRFC is at 820. It probably would have run at 800, but this was one of those timings that I just changed because I was desperately trying to get it to stop spitting out errors, so I bumped it up by 20. Default for this would have been 965, if I remember correctly. So that's also a nice little performance improvement there. TWR 16, default is 26. Like on auto, it would have been 26, so that's faster than stock. TWTR 8, this is actually one tick slower than if I left it on auto. This is the same as auto. This is one tick. Actually, this is better than auto. That's better than auto. This is way better than auto. Auto would go to like, well, actually not way better, but auto would be 13. That's a 10. TFAW 20, just because TRRDs are 5 and 6, so TFAW 16 doesn't make sense anymore. I could have set it to 16. It just, like, the motherboard would basically ignore it. TCWL 18, because that works at this frequency. That's actually the auto setting as well. TCKE1. SCL4 again. So that's one tick down from default. Default would go to 5 tick. And this actually makes this is a nice little performance uplift in general to set that to 4. Everything else on auto, because I really didn't want, well, like the SD and DD timings don't apply to a single rank memory configuration, right? Like we're running here. And these do apply, but I don't feel like fighting them into like being stable. So I left those alone. Then gear down mode is just left on auto. It's enabled. That's why we're at TCL 20 and like all the timings are basic. Well, the TRRDs don't have to be even, but there's a lot of timings that if you're in gear down mode, you have to have them even. So yeah. Power down is disabled, TSME is disabled, and everything else is auto. This board does a really, really good job of just doing all of your like drive strengths and terminations on auto correctly. Like a lot of the time just trying to change the settings just stops it from posting. So that's why they're all in auto. It's just like, yeah, that's not worth messing with. So yeah, like, oh my god, this memory kit. Like it's absolutely insane that, you know, you can run memtest at 5500. Admittedly, there's like actually with the APUs, I'm not sure how many motherboards there are, but there's probably like per vendor, I think there's, well, actually no, because Gigabyte refreshed their entire X570 lineup, so those should, like most of those should do it. But yeah, like you need very specific motherboards and then a very specific CPU, and then you can do for DDR4 5500, you know, almost fully stable. Actually, I'm pretty sure you could actually get this to be fully stable at this speed. Like the fact that it does over 200% memtest is just like, yeah, there's, you know, it might not be perfect. Like my current settings might not be completely stable and perfect, but I doubt I'm very far. So yeah, like these crucial 5100 sticks, like these are, I just, they're insane. They're absolutely insane. And I am such a huge like I can't believe that this exists as a memory kit for DDR4. And that especially like it comes from Crucial. Um so yeah, big thank you to Crucial for sending these sticks over because well, actually, I have another video that I'm going to be doing where I show, like, because I recently managed to get, uh, well, we're going to do another video where I show max validation frequency on these sticks. So this is like relatively, if not even very stable. I'd actually consider this very stable. It's not just like it can run benchmarks. It can actually do quite a bit of memtest. But I plan to do, there's going to be another video where we're just going to go for raw frequency. Everything else just, who cares about stability type overclocking. And yeah, so you should like subscribe for that. I didn't want to roll this into this video because I thought it might end up being too long. I'm also not entirely sure how I want to do the max validation frequency video just yet, but yeah, so that's definitely coming up because like this is stable. There's still room left if your goal for these memory sticks is to just take a screenshot, they can go a hell of a lot faster. So yeah, that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, leave any comments, questions, suggestions down in the comment section below. And big thank you to Crucial for sending over these memory sticks, as well as MSI for sending over the Unify X, because there's like one other motherboard where this is maybe possible in my collection. Like, of the motherboards I have, there's like one other one that might have been capable of doing this, but that one's really annoying to work with. So yeah, big thank you to MSI for the board, and to Crucial for the sticks. And if you'd like to support what I do here with actually hardcore overclocking, I have a Patreon. There's a link to that down in the description below, which is how I acquired a 4750G because well, AMD doesn't really want to sell those things. Like 4750Gs are kind of difficult to get. And then there's also the HOC Teespring store where you can pick up shirts, stickers, posters, the usual YouTuber merch. Both of those, both Patreon and Teespring, help out immensely with running the channel. Again, thanks patrons for the 4750G. And yeah, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.